Hi, I'm Paul McGee. I'm author of the book Self-Confidence, the remarkable truth of why a small change can make a big difference. What to do when the ship hits the flan. I don't know about you, but I do live in the real world. I don't actually spend a lot of time in Planet Happy, the land of Happy Clappy. That's just not where I operate. I operate in a world where setbacks happen, where there are disappointments. Maybe for you, you've known or of yourself or someone else who's experienced divorce, experienced redundancy, experienced the disappointment of missing out on promotion or failing an exam. And maybe as a result of all that, some of that self-confidence and that self-belief just seems like it's draining away. So what can you do? How can you, I don't like to use the word bounce back from a setback. That always seems to be trivialising it. How can you recover from a setback? Well, I've got some tips for you. Number one, you know what? Grieving is good. Grieving is good. In other words, let's not be, self-confidence is not about self-delusion. You can be a confident person and yet still acknowledge, you know what? I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. That was a big blow to me. And actually just to recognise it's actually okay to grieve a bit. However, it's okay to grieve, but remember, it's okay to do, but it's not to last forever. But give yourself permission when you've had that major disappointment or setback, just to say, I'm going to do a little bit of grieving here, because it's okay to do. Here's your second point. It ain't what you see, it's the way that you see it. Let me just say that again. It ain't what you see, it's the way that you see it. See, it's interesting, isn't it? Two people can have a setback, and for one person, that failure, that problem, that dream that seems to be lost, it's like that's the end of the world for them. And yet there's other people who have the same setback, the same disappointment, and yet they can like go, okay, learn from it and move on. You see, I guess a lot of it is sometimes to do with our perspective on what has actually happened to us. Because when we see things differently, then maybe we will respond differently. Here's two questions that could actually help you see things more in perspective. Number one, and this is something I talk about in my previous book, Sumo, Shut Up, Move On. Here's number one. Where is this issue? Where is this event on a scale of 1 to 10? In brackets, where 10 equals death. You see, I think sometimes we go, oh, it's terrible, it's the end of the world. Whoa, 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 whoa. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10's death, where is it? Now, hey, I'm painfully aware there are 8s, 9s and 10s in life. But my concern is when our self-belief seems to be draining away, we're beating ourselves up about something, and actually it was only a 2 or a 3. Now, having watched this, I don't want you to have the next conversation. I don't want this to happen. I don't want, if someone says to you, oh, we've had a right crisis, I don't want you to suddenly go, did anybody die? But I'm just trying to say to you, look, you still got to do the 1s and the 2s, but remember that sometimes the stuff that's draining you of your confidence, the stuff that you think has brought the end of your world, ain't a 10, it ain't death. It's probably a bit lower down the scale. Another great question to ask yourself sometimes to help you see things differently. Simply this: how important will this issue be in 6 months' time? Let's be honest. There was probably things that were stressing you out 6 months ago. There were things that happened in your world and you thought, will I ever recover? And yet, I promise you, 6 months on, some of you may even forget what it was that was the problem in the first place. Hey, where is it on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10's death? And how important will it be in 6 months' time? Because it ain't what you see, it is the way that you see it. Okay, so in trying to, what to do when the ship hits the flan, grieving is good. Let's not live in the land of happy clappy and pretend everything's okay. Give yourself permission to recognise grieving is good. But it ain't what you see, it's the way that you see it as well that I think you'll find helpful. Here's a third one, just to help you recover from a setback, and it's simply this: molehills matter. What am I saying? I'm saying this: never underestimate the impact and the importance of a small step in the right direction. You see, some people, confidence is a huge issue, a lack of self-belief is a huge issue, and they feel that they're here and it's like, I want to be over there, but how on earth am I going to get over there? Well, I'll tell you, how do you get from here over there? You take a small step. You see, molehills matter. Doing little things really counts. Several years ago, I lost my job through ill health. I became ill with something called ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, yuppie flu, or chronic fatigue syndrome. 8 out of 10 doctors didn't believe the illness existed. That was a challenge. I was ill for 2.5 years. Sometimes I was so physically weak I couldn't even wash my hair. But there were weeks when actually I could. And there were weeks when I felt able to walk a little bit. And I sometimes had to just remind myself, I'm not fully well yet, but today I went for a bit of a walk and I didn't need my walking stick. In fact, one day I did something that really did boost my self-esteem. You see, I was ill and there was no way I was going to be working for some time, but one day I felt okay. I thought maybe I could just drive into town and walk around the shops, maybe only for 20 minutes, but I could do it. And do you know what I did? I put my work suit on. I had no job to go to. I was on invalidity benefit, as they called it then. But I put my suit on and I put my tie on. Now, some people might go, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, it was only a small thing, but it actually had quite an impact on me. It just kind of like boosted me a little bit because I was thinking, you know, one day you will be wearing this because you are going to work. Never, never underestimate a small step in the right direction. You want to build your confidence? Remember this, molehills really do matter. So what molehill are you going to start building?